Good afternoon and welcome to the Turn On training session all about Microsoft accessibility tools. My name is Martin and welcome to today's session. This is a series of sessions available from Turn It On as a Microsoft Global Training Partner. Just a couple of reminders, if you are joining us on the live session today, this is being recorded. If you are watching the recording back, you are going to have full access to all the materials that we cover today. If you do decide to make a contribution and turn on your camera, you are able to do so, and please, we welcome your contributions, but remember that this is recorded and it will be shared freely afterwards and made available to anyone publicly. If you prefer to talk in private, you can add questions into the chat and I'll go and pick them up from there, so you've got an option either way. As we've said, Turn On is a Microsoft Global Training Partner, and part of the work that we do is help people get professional development. And this is in a series of webinars in the Microsoft Educator series. And what it will do is prepare you for undertaking the Microsoft Educator assessment and get you ready to achieve that qualification. Or if you're not going to do that, you're welcome to join any of these sessions individually, and they completely stand alone and support you with getting the most out of the technology that you have at your disposal in Office 365. Without any further delay, we will get started. And one of the things that we would like to draw to your attention is that Microsoft Learn is the place you'll find all the resources that we're going to use today. It's free and it's available to you at any time. So all you need to do is open up a web browser and a search engine and search for Microsoft Learn or Microsoft Learn Education Center. It will take you to the website, and with that you log in with your Office 365 account from your organization. Once you're signed in, you'll find individual courses and learning pathways, which will be around areas that interest you. The great thing about that professional development resource is that you can cherry pick the pieces which are important for your role in school. If you're working across school as a leader or maybe a senior leader in school, you can go and pick up areas that might be a development focus or a transition focus, and you'll find resources and ideas there to help to make it successful and support everybody regardless of their role in school. Now, I've mentioned the Microsoft Educator qualification, and that's exactly what this series of webinars supports. But there's also another step to take if you wish, and that's the Microsoft Advanced Educator, and that follows on from the Microsoft Educator qualification. The Microsoft Advanced Educator qualification has two pathways to it. One is 21st century learning design and thinking about those skills in school or college, and the other one is all around making the most of teams. Once you've got those two qualifications, it opens up a pathway to, if you wish to, undertake the Microsoft Innovative Educator Expert qualification, and Turn It On has a course for that starting in January 2023. But one of the prerequisites of that is that you complete your Microsoft Educator and your Microsoft Advanced Educator qualifications in Microsoft Learn. Back to the focus for today, and we are going to have a look at accessibility tools across the whole of Office 365. And one of the real big positives is that they provide massive access to learning for students across all subjects. And it's not just within Office 365, as you'll see a little bit later. We'll have a look at a selection of the commonly used tools, and then you'll be able to go away and try those out. But also, if you want to delve any deeper, Microsoft Learn is a place to go, and you'll find out more information there. Just starting with the infographic on the right, if you're reading that, you will find that when you go and look at any of the Learn and accessibility courses in Microsoft Learn. But the idea from Microsoft is that they hit all areas within a school or an educational institution that might require some degree of support to just get a level access to learning everybody is entitled to, whether it's reading, writing and maths, or it comes back to mental well-being. It might be that you've got a visual impairment. Microsoft have tried to think of all of the different areas where support might be required, and then for inclusivity, try to incorporate features that will help to provide everybody with access and not exclude them from the learning that they're entitled to. There is a periodic table of learning tools available, and it's called the Microsoft Learning Tools Availability Grid. If you search for it online, or there's an address there at the bottom of this slide, it will give you regular updates as to the developments that Microsoft are making and where you can find these tools embedded across different apps in the Office 365 platform. Some of them have had the features embedded for a long time, and others of them are quite new, such as the Edge browser now has things like Immersive Reader built into it. So if you're going to pick a web browser, I would encourage you to pick the Edge browser, because what you can do is you can take a web page and you can transfer it into a readable version, and other browsers can't do that. And that technology is built straight in from Microsoft. All of the aspects of the accessibility tools is to promote the independence in learning, whatever it is that you need support with, whether it's hearing, whether it's neurodiversity, or you're looking at mental health tools. The philosophy behind it, not just from Microsoft, but the wider global institutions that they've worked with, is that they need to support individuals in being successful and feel like they're included in a classroom or included in their own learning passions, and not feel like that their need isn't catered for. And that's really the cornerstone of Microsoft accessibility tools. We'll consider 4 areas of an inclusive classroom: reading, writing, maths, and communication. We'll begin with reading, and under reading, one of the absolute jewels in the crown of Microsoft accessibility tools is Immersive Reader. It wasn't just developed by Microsoft in isolation. They've spent years working with schools, colleges, nurseries around the globe, and also recognize organizations. Somebody that contributed massively into that process is Made by Dyslexia, and the accessibility tool Immersive Reader has been massively refined. What it does is it will read text out loud. You can change backgrounds for visual impairments. You can also do things like label up speech, but you can also have line focuses applied to have an approach where you haven't got too much text on screen. But also you can have things like a picture dictionary where it doesn't require additional software. And all of this is included, and it's free within the basic licenses of Office 365. So also the other benefit is there's no additional hidden costs. At this point, we'll just swap over and we will go and have a look at the Immersive Reader platform. And the Immersive Reader platform, as I said, is built across the whole of Office 365. There isn't a single app which excludes it. And the beauty of that is whatever your learners are picking up, they will see the common logo. And with that common logo, they'll know exactly what to do with a little bit of help from you. And it probably takes a matter of minutes, and then you can have pupils and students being really independent within their learning. So I'm just going to swap over screens and we'll have a look at that. When you log into Office 365 using a web browser, and I'm using the Edge browser from Microsoft today, you go to www.office.com and then pick the program that you want to use. So I'm going to choose Teams today. A lot of us used Teams during the global pandemic, and to some degree have continued to use it since, as there's various aspects of it which lend themselves to ongoing use. We'll have a look in a primary class team example. So I might have some posts that have been made on a daily basis, which is interaction between either the pupils I'm working with, the students, and the teacher. And if I haven't got the ability to read that myself, what I can do is click the 3 dots on the side, and Immersive Reader is built here right inside. There are other tools that we'll look at as well, which is Translate, which can translate that post to a different language. So if you've got EAL pupils, then that don't have English as a primary language, and I'm posting as English as a English speaking teacher, they can be independent in transferring it into their own languages. But you might want to use Immersive Reader as well. That, as I said, is built into many other areas. So if I went to look at OneNote, well, because we're in a class team, it's OneNote Class Notebook, which we use for teaching on a daily basis. Could be that we've got the typical welcome text that you would have when you set up a OneNote Class Notebook. But what you want to do now is make that more accessible. Let me just increase the area that we've got available to us there. So with that we've got the tab along the top, and on the different tabs, you'll have options that are available to you. And we've got separate training sessions which go through OneNote Class Notebook on their own. But if you went to the View tab in OneNote Class Notebook, you will find the Immersive Reader button. The symbol is always the same. It looks like an open book with a speaker on it. And whereas this page might be an absolute barrier to accessing learning that I've been set by my teacher, what I can do is press the Immersive Read button, and it will take that page for me and for me only, so it won't affect the original or the view for any other pupils and students that I've got with me. But what it will do is take in the text from that page and make it far more accessible. So as we can see there at the moment, it's brought it in, but it's got rid of the busyness that you would have in the OneNote software. You can press the play button at the bottom and have it read to you. There's a few settings which you can change, which is the speed that it reads out you. So if you need that speech to be slow and steady, you can slow it down. Or if you're more impatient, you just want to get through it, you can speed it up. You can choose a male and a female voice. And one of the features that's regularly asked for that Microsoft I know are working on is regional accents. So at the moment it's male and female, but hopefully regional accents will come in the future. And then when the text is read, you will see the box move across the words and you will hear it read out to you. And as it's read to you, that can be read to you individually. If you don't want a distraction around the whole classroom, you can get the adults or the pupils you're working with to put headphones on so that it doesn't distract other learners. Or if it's okay and you're in a small intervention situation or it's a very small group, it might be okay to just have it coming out of the device speakers. Now you've got the text in here. There are 3 tabs in the top right hand corner which really change your view for you as an individual. So it might be that I'm visually impaired, so I need this text to be larger and increased in size. So I can drag across the button, and then for me as a teacher, it's not increased my workload because I've prepared the one resource. But what the pupils and students are doing is they're being really independent in their learning. After I've shown them how Immersive Reader works, they can change it to suit their learning needs or their comfort level. You can have increased spacing between the words, or you can have it condensed depending on what you prefer again. And you can choose between different fonts. If you want something that looks a bit more like handwriting, you can have Comic Sans. Now, if you were visually impaired and you need a different colored background, what you can do is apply a color, whatever it is, so that you've got that and it works for your needs. You can also choose whether you want the formatting to reflect how it was written as a source, or you can take the formatting out, and if it was in paragraphs, it would come back to a single block of text, or you can leave it as it was originally intended to be. So those are the text preference options, and they'll give you some choices about how you want that text to look visually. The next options are the grammar options, and certainly within the UK curriculum, we've got something at primary school called spelling, punctuation, and grammar. And in here, that's really useful for that, but also it's particularly useful for making sure that you can pick out various aspects of the text. Now you'll notice down here there's some buttons to slide across, and then there's our nouns, our verbs, our adjectives, and so forth. You can change the color of any of these, so you're not wedded to have the color that's there, but you can toggle on. So if you wanted nouns and adjectives highlighted in the text, or you want the pupils and the students you're working with to be independent in their learning at picking them out of the text, maybe they've guessed where they are, they need to confirm that. That also frees up time for you as a teacher, where they can use that tool to find out the answers and they don't always have to come to you. The other thing you can do is split the words into syllables to sound them out. So as you can see, that puts in the dots to break them into syllables, or you can switch it off again. So you can have as much or as little as you like. You can also have these labeled up so that when you leave the grammar tab, you can still see what they are. So if you pop the label on, you can see you've got N for noun and ADJ for adjective, so that they're there, and it also reminds you over there. So that helps to label up the grammar aspects of the tools and give you some options about showing the grammar within the text that you've been given. The final of the 3 is reading preferences. So if we click reading preferences, it may be that I've got dyslexia and there's just far too much information on the page. So what I can do is enable the line focus, and the line focus will then just focus on the line that's being read. So if I press play again, It will move the line focus as we go. I can slide up and down, so I can choose where the line focus is in my text, or I can toggle the line focus to be back off again. Also, I've got Picture Dictionary on here, so it might be that I need to know a pictorial version of a word. So if I click it, I can sound it individually, but I can also see the pictorial version of the word. And most words have a pictorial version that when you click on it, you can see just exactly what that would be. So you don't need to have separate software. It's embedded across Office 365, as we said, so it's there for you to use. And pupils and students that you work with of any age get really competent in using this quite quickly, and it becomes seamless that when they get out in class, they've got their device. They need to adjust the resource that you prepared as a teacher. You don't need to prepare 5 versions. You can prepare a single version and then them adjust it to suit their own needs. One of the other things it can do is that you can change the language. So if you wanted to have this in Catalan, for instance, you could have it by word. So if we pressed class, we could see the English version and the Catalan version there. But you could go one step further. And if you went back to those preferences, you could say apply that to the whole document, and then it will turn the whole document into Catalan. But if you want to toggle back, you can get to the original at the top, or then you can have the Catalan version there. If you want to then go back in and toggle that off, that's absolutely fine. And the whole time, this is only affecting my view, my version of the work. It doesn't change it for the rest of the class or any other individuals that I've got in the class with me. And when I've finished, I go to the top left-hand corner and I press the arrow and I jump out of that. Remember, if you've got any experiences of using any of these tools yourself, or you've been trying them out where you are, please feel free to pop them in the chat. I'll come back over and check those periodically. Also, if you've got any questions linked to what we're doing today, please do feel free to ask. Are there any questions from anybody here with us today so far? Anything that anybody wants to know about? No? Okay. I will continue on. I'm just going to swap back over. While we do that, Immersive Reader probably is the biggest game changer I've had in my teaching career about getting people access to resources that I've prepared. But also at the same time, there are lots of other tools that Microsoft has available for you. And what I'm doing, I'm just going to skip forward a little bit as we've covered a lot of these individually. As we've said, there's quite a few of these available in other tools throughout Office 365. So as you can see, there's just a selection there of the Office 365 apps that you are going to have Immersive Reader in, whether you're collecting data in forms, whether you were using game learning in Minecraft Education Edition, or working inside of Teams, or just simply typing a document in Word. But Microsoft haven't been precious about this technology. They've also been very inclusive about this technology. And what they've made sure is that they are going to share this with other people, and not just in the Office 365 apps, it's available in many other third-party products that are out there. So maybe you use Wakelets in your lesson and you might have them inside of your classroom. Well, that is something that you'll find Immersive Reader embedded within. So increasingly, there are other organizations, other companies that are using the Immersive Reader technology. So as you have those other platforms in school, Microsoft's realistic. They know you aren't solely using Office 365, that you'll be able to use the same accessibility tools in there at that time as well. Another option is something called Office Lens, and you can see the animation there on screen. Office Lens is an app that's available to download. You can get it on iOS or you can get it on Android. It is being developed for other platforms as well. Just pause while that's being read. So what Office Lens is it's an app in its own right that you can hold over documents, and it works a bit like a scanner, but it's also got OCR text recognition. You could hold it over the page of a book, and you could use this rather than having a visualizer at the front of the classroom, but it's also got Immersive Reader built in, as the animation showing you on screen now. And if you take a piece of text that you've scanned in using the Immersive Reader tool, you can then apply that and you can have it brought back into the app and you then use the same 3 immersive reader sections that we've shown you before to translate into different languages, to be able to break it into syllables, to be able to highlight nouns or adjectives. So all of that is free. Office Lens is free. Anything that you decide to capture, you can also save it. So you can save it in various formats. You can save it in picture formats. You can save it as PDFs. And then that will link with your OneDrive in Office 365, where you store your personal and your private files. And it will have a folder in there called Office Lens. And then anything that you're capturing around the classroom, I use it a lot for capturing pupil and student work. So I might be walking around, I see something amazing. I use the mirroring technology to get it to the board at the front, but also I can get a copy of it. So it might be in a following lesson, I decide that there was a really good example of work. So what I'm going to do is embed it in my OneNote class notebook. Well, I've got the version I grabbed through Office Lens sat in my OneDrive, so I can just go and include it on the page of my OneNote class notebook, and away we go. So it's that integration element, making everything flow as well as it can, and also just making your life easy as you can as an educator. There's enough going on in the classroom, and if the technology is actually supporting you and not being a barrier to being successful for everyone, then the better for it. We'll carry on looking at an inclusive classroom. We'll just have a look at a couple of examples within other software, some of it more traditional that we've been using for many years. So Word itself has got accessibility tools built into it. So within Word, you could go to the Home tab, and what you can do is you can check the accessibility of a document with types of fonts that are used, spacings, colors, and it will make suggestions and ideas for making that document more accessible. Also built inside of Word, there is a dictation tool. This is great for accessibility to learning when the keyboard's the barrier. What you can do is you can press the microphone button, and the microphone button's available for you, and it will then, this is on the Home tab, it will then allow you to dictate into your computer, either using the microphone that's built in, or you can plug in an external microphone, and what you're saying will then appear on the screen in real time. That does require an internet connection, and you can either use the online version of Word that you will open up as a tab in the browser from Office 365, or you can equally use the desktop version. If you're using the desktop version, then it requires you to have Office 2019 or higher. It won't work on older versions of Office. So if you've got Office 2016 or lower, you'll need to upgrade your version of Office. If you're using one above that, then that's absolutely fine. Also built into Windows 10 and 11 since 2018, there's a huge amount of accessibility tools under settings. Again, you might need visual adjustments. You might need the contrast of the screen so that it's not a white background, it's a black background with white and yellow text so it shows up. So what you can do is you can go into the accessibility section of settings, and once you're in there, you can change all sorts of things, such as having audio keyboards or changing those visual elements. And that's almost a training session in itself, but they are there for you. So you can either adjust it for an individual student's laptop, and you probably do that through your IT support that you have in-house, or externally if you've got a company that works with you. Or equally, if that device is standalone and not controlled by a network, you can toggle on those, and it's really something to explore before you start to use it with pupils or students, but it's there for you. You've also got changes you can make to Office itself. So in things like Word Online, instead of it having a red underline, which can be really disconcerting for pupils if they see that they've misspelled a word, what you can have is more like a modern mobile browser. You can have a pop-up window that will give you suggestions of the spellings that are correct, rather than having that threatening red underline there instead. There's also many languages to translate to. There were 75 in 2018. We're now up to just over 100 in 2022, and that's growing all the time. Microsoft feedback that's in all of the Microsoft Office 365 apps is the best way to go. If you know that you've got a particular language that you need, put in a request for it. It doesn't just go into some big computer in the cloud and never get heard of. People do check that, and if there's enough suggestions for a particular feature, it will get developed, or it will get put on a priority list to be developed. Moving away from reading and writing, we'll have a look at maths. And maths itself, there is a dedicated maths tool that you can use on its own, but also within something like OneNote Class Notebook, there's a maths tool there, and we'll go and look at that next. But what that can do from a very simplistic level of primary age right the way up to secondary age, it gives the ability to use OneNote Class Notebook as your teaching tool. You can ink into it digitally using a stylus, whether it's on the interactive board at the front of the classroom or on your device. But when you ink in, you can use the maths tool, and the same could be true whether you're using your finger or whether you're typing into OneNote. The maths tool can help you with that. So I'm just going to jump out of the presentation and we'll nip across and have a look at the maths tool. I'm just going to check the chat on the way across if there's any comments in there. Not at the moment. Again, don't be shy. If there's something you would like to know, you can feel free to ask those and we'll do our best to get those answered for you. Just sharing the screen again with the web browser so that you can see the version of this in live real time. Just moving over. So we're back into OneNote Class Notebook, and what I'm going to do is open up my sections in my OneNote Class Notebook, and I'm going to go to my Teachers Only section. If you're not familiar with OneNote Class Notebook, we've got training sessions coming up on that as well, if you want to get more from it. So all you have to do is go to the Turn It On website and go to the events section and sign up as you did for today's. If we went to maths, I've just got some organized in there. So I've been busy teaching a bit of a lesson previously. What I've got in there is I wrote out a calculation, so quite clearly that's been inked. But what I could do is I could go in and I could use the maths tool on the draw tab. What I need to do first of all is lasso my writing. This equally works the same if you've typed on the screen, but I'll show you the tool itself. Then you go to the maths tool. And what you can do is you can have it turned on or off permanently, or you can just click on it and it will slide out from the side. When it comes out from the side, the technology, the AI in the background will do its best to interpret my handwriting, and it's detected it correctly. If I need to fix it, I can press the fix it button and replace any of it. I can ink that in so it converts from handwriting to text. But then I've got a series of actions that I can use on screen. So I could evaluate what the answer is, and I can do this as a teacher, or I can do this as a student. So again, independence and learning is there. But what I could also do is show the solution steps. So here I've now got the steps that I could take, one of the possible ways to get to the answer. It might not be the only way, it might not be the way that I would naturally choose, and I fully accept that, but it gives you something else as a teacher in your arsenal for, again, pupils and students that you're working with to be independent in finding the answer. There's the Immersive Reader logo again. So if you need that read to you, you're in maths, English shouldn't be a problem here. You can toggle that on and it'll be read out to you. Remember, Immersive Reader is there inside of OneNote, so you can get any page read to you as well, and it will do its best to interpret. But if we wanted to, let's say, if I go back and highlight that again, if we wanted to take it one step further, in that AI element, you've got things that will make your life a lot easier. So we might say evaluate what it is or round an answer, but you could generate a practice quiz on the fly. So if you press generate practice quiz, what it will do is it will contact Microsoft Forms. And when it contacts Microsoft Forms, it's going to not play ball today, typically. It will generate a Microsoft form based on the questions that you've got there. And there's only one question that will give you several more, and it will pop it into the middle. It's not going to do it today. Let's just try refreshing the browser in case it does. And then it will generate a series of questions for you based around that calculation, and they'll be available to you. Or if you want to get your pupils to just practice something individually, that could do it there. We'll give it one more go before we move on, just in case. Let's go in and have a look. So we're going to select evaluate what the answer is, generate practice quiz. No, it's not going to play ball. We'll move on. But what it will give you, where we've got that section there, it will give you a quiz. It's a Microsoft Forms quiz, and it's self-marking, and it will then just help you with getting to some answers within your lesson where the pupils can choose exactly what they're doing. But the maths tool is there, again, for accessibility. We'll swap back over and we'll have a look at some other tools that we've got available to us. So I'm just going to jump back to the presentation. We can check the questions we're going across. So the maths tool itself, it's called the Math Solver tool. If you search again in the web browser, it is an independent app and it can work inside the browser, but it also sits quite nicely within OneNote class notebooks. You've got the option to use it absolutely either way and pick which one suits you best. Also, in an inclusive classroom, there are several communication options available to you. One that's really powerful is PowerPoint Live. Again, PowerPoint Live either requires you to use the online versions, or you can also use OneNote Caption. So if you're using PowerPoint Live, you can go into PowerPoint Live mode. And what it will then do is share a QR code on the screen, which you can scan in the classroom, whether you're using a tablet device, a phone, or a laptop with a camera on it. Once you've scanned that individually, what you can see is the live version of the PowerPoint with captions coming up underneath. And then those captions can be translated into absolutely any language. So here's an example of someone viewing it on their phone, and they're going to choose Spanish. So as the teacher's busy presenting at the front of the classroom, the individual pupil or student or audience members, it could be over the internet at home for all it matters, once they've scanned the QR code, can start to see what you're saying appearing on screen as you move through the slides. There again, 60 plus languages, which are heading towards 70 now available to you. And then that allows them individually to get access if they are not a native English speaker, for instance. But that's a free feature that's included in PowerPoint, and it enables that live captioning. That partners up in many other aspects with using the tools that you would have in PowerPoint, but it does link with Translator. Now, Translator will also help with translating and getting translation in subtitles in things like Teams, because Translator and Teams go together really nicely, so you can get subtitles appearing on screen while you're presenting. But it also partners really nicely with OneNote Class Notebook and Live Captions. So if you are working in OneNote Class Notebook and you want live captions on screen, as with the purple bar that's appearing just above the top there, what you can do is you can use Translator, go to Translator, which will show you next where to get that from. And the Translator app will either allow you to host a meeting or produce a QR code. So again, quick access, or you can just give a code. And then once you've got that code, it allows you to go into PowerPoint, PowerPoint Live, or Teams, or other options like Stream, and it will get the captions on screen. So let me show you where to go for that, and that will make it easier. Now, up until last week, Translator worked as an app on the internet. However, it has been changed, and what you need to do now is get that app installed on your device. It will support Windows 10 or Windows 11, so you can use either of them, it's fine, but you can no longer use the web browser version. So if you go to www.microsoft.com/en-us translator, it will take you to this page. It does give you a prompt to download it from the Microsoft Store, and you have to specify what you're using it for. So we're using it for education. When you get there, you sign in up in the top right-hand corner. You can see I'm signed in there. What you will then get is an app that launched. Now, it will look a little bit like this. This is a mobile view. Now, if you're using this and joining somebody that's using Translator, the person who's hosting can give you a code. You press join and you can go into that conversation. You choose your name and your language. And then when you go in, you will see your text appearing in a gray background bubble and their text appearing in a green one. And what you can do is have dialogue backwards and forwards, both speaking in your native language. So you could use this in a classroom to support teaching and learning, but you could use it widely across the school. Maybe it's the reception team. Could be that you're having a meeting with a parent and they've arrived in your school from another country. They haven't yet picked up English if you're an native English speaking school, but they could be speaking in their dialect, you could be speaking yours, and what you would get on screen is a single version. Now, there is at the end the ability to download a log, so you can both keep a log of what was said, but also you can have that on file if you need to, as a meeting has maybe been held. And it just, again, opens up the possibilities of having those conversations inside and outside the classroom. It can handle all sorts of languages and it's free to use. It works very, very well. It does require an internet connection because the actual translation happens on Microsoft servers in the cloud, but providing you've got an internet connection, that app can go on iOS, it can go on Android, it can go on Windows laptops, be it Windows 10 or 11, and then it will just open up and it's available to you to use in whichever way you see fit. But the QR code that you generate, if I scroll back down, this QR code here is also what you can enable to use the captions in OneNote Class Notebook and also PowerPoint Live. So if we went over into PowerPoint Online, and it is going to require either the web app PowerPoint Online version or Office 2019 or Office 2021. Again, it won't work on any versions of Office that are lower. What you would do is share the code, and then along the bottom of the screen there, what you can get is those narration notes that would come up via Translator, but you will need Translator installed as well. Now, also in here, there are other options. So Present Live is there. So you can choose the people that would join, either people just in your school, your organization, or absolutely anyone. Maybe you're presenting over the internet for an open evening. You've got your audio settings there. You present, I'll say, for anyone. So if you're watching this presentation now, you can join in. And then what you do is you go into the presentation and it will just come up with a code to join, and away you go. If you are going to present, there we go. So I let it use my microphone. If you're at home, you can scan the QR code that's going to come up, and then it will start to give you that transcript along the bottom. It's going to come up in a minute. You've also got the join code, so you can share that in things like Teams. It will tell me up here how many people have joined. So I know if I've got 15, 30 pupils in my class, that I've got everybody with me if they needed to join. And then I go to show slides. And because I'm in Present Live, it will end up picking up what I'm saying for them. And along the bottom of their screen, they will end up seeing the translation captions that they need in their language, or the subtitles if they just need it in their same language. And it means that they've got that there for them. I'm just going to jump out of that. I'm going to end the session because you can resume and jump back in if you need to swap. So I'm just going to end that. Another thing that you've got available to you for accessibility is that you might be great, not great, that great even at presenting, if I can talk this afternoon. So instead of you as a teacher having to listen to 30 pupils in the class all present their presentation, what you can get them to do is rehearse from Coach. So you go to Rehearse from Coach. You can choose things like body language so that it can analyze you over a camera. You can also change the coaching sessions, but we'll just go with the standard settings for today. I press rehearse with Coach. And when I'm rehearsing with Coach, I want to start rehearsing, and I also want to keep real-time feedback because I'm an adult and it's not going to put me off. But for sometimes for pupils, you maybe want to untick that. So we start rehearsing. Welcome to today's staff meeting. It's the first one of the term and it's really good to see everybody here. We've got quite a busy agenda today, so we need to do policies. We've got to get through school policies. We haven't got any other business, and we've got governors coming in later, and it's going to be awful. And it's going to start telling me that my pace is too fast and to speak slower. And as I go through, I might start pausing and not knowing what I'm doing. And it tells me whether what I'm doing well, what I'm doing badly. And I get to the end, and I might go through everything. And thank you very much. I'm going to get to the end of my slideshow. When I get to the end of the slideshow, this feature is in preview from Microsoft, but what it gives me as somebody presenting, it gives me a dashboard summary of how I've been doing, my average pace over time, what's my pitch like, how monotone it is. Also, have I used many ums, how many times I've paused, originality of content, inclusiveness. So it's just another way for people to plan presentations, whether it's staff or whether it's students, so that they're as inclusive as they possibly can, and they're making sure that they don't forget anybody and that they come along with them on that journey. Any questions at all regarding that? I'm just going to jump back over, and I'm also going to swap back to the presentation. Check the chat as I swap. Nothing in there at the moment. Okay, I'll move back over. So jumping back over to finish up for some of today. We spoke about Translator and we had a look at it in the web browser. So we said it's available on absolutely any device, and the translator itself, the app is very, very intuitive and straightforward to use, and it does mirror some of the other translator apps that are available out there. But because it's within the Office 365 system, it links with the other Office 365 apps, such as PowerPoint Live, such as Captions in OneNote, such as Captions also in Teams. So that's all available for you to use. Now, I said at the beginning that Microsoft Learn was the place to go to get all of the materials that we've been using today. And what you've got are 3 courses that will also be included in the Microsoft Educator qualification. So the 3 courses that we're tapping into today is accessibility and building a foundation for inclusive learning. A lot of that comes into Immersive Reader. And then we have a look at empowering students in inclusive classrooms. And that's some of the other tools that you've looked at, such as the Captions and the Maths tool. And then flipped instruction with PowerPoint Recorder links into things like recording your PowerPoints and sharing them, but also with the Rehearse with Coach. There is a dedicated Immersive Reader page, and there's a dedicated Math Solver page as well that you can tap into online. So there's lots of resources from Microsoft that we've used in today's session, but also that you can use when you get back into school, and you can have a go at taking them back and sharing stuff. Now, what we normally like to do at this point is share a code for you to redeem in Microsoft Learn for you to get experience points that will contribute towards you getting an educator status. But today, or I should say this week, the part which allows us to generate codes is unfortunately broken. So we will leave this chat open, and when it finally gets working, we'll add the redemption code into the chat. So chat will stay in your private chat in your team, and just keep an eye on it. And as soon as we get that feature working and Microsoft fix it, we will include it in there for you so that you can redeem it once you're logged into Microsoft Learn. In order to get to Microsoft Learn, as we said at the beginning, just search for Microsoft Learn in the web browser and then go into it, log in with your Office 365 account that you've got from your education institution, and you can also then redeem these codes. I'm just going to try and call it up now so that I can share it in the chat with you. Just going to pop it in there for you so you can go and pick it up. If you're already using Learn and you've already got Microsoft Educator, that's fine. You can still redeem the code. It's not going to harm your experience points. It'll only give you more experience points and help with your own professional development pathway. So the Learn website is there now. As I said, the code we will add at a later date as soon as Microsoft gets it fixed. As far as working with Microsoft and working with Turn It On, we're constantly working with schools and colleges in the UK, and what we do is post an awful lot, so please do check us out on social media. Also, people to follow from Microsoft: Mike Tholson is regularly posting on Twitter and has really useful updates. Also, Jen King is part of the education team in the UK, but also Edu US are constantly posting as well, so do follow those on social media. We also at Turn It On are happy to talk to you if you've got any questions or you want to follow up anything from today. So you can always email it in to Turn It On at the office@turniton.co.uk address. We've got a playlist library of videos that we've got online from the previous sessions, and if you've attended today, we'll pop the link for that in the chat later so you can get to the recording from today. The recording that will appear after today's session will only be able internally to us, which is why we'll post you the link to our YouTube channel and playlists. But also, we would love to get your feedback. So if you've got a device on you now, if you scan that QR code, it will take you straight to the Microsoft form where you can give us feedback of either sessions that you would like to see in the future, anything that's particularly useful that you think is not available out there from other people, including Microsoft, that we can run for you, and also any feedback about what we've done today. Today is a taster session. We will be doing some Microsoft Advanced Educator sessions on accessibility tools where it'll be more workshop based, and what we'll do is we'll break out and you can have a go at using those tools. But today is really focused on Microsoft Educator and starting to use it, so it's just sharing some ideas for you to take away and have a go at. And Turn It On in the UK is able to work with you for all of the education technology needs. So if you do want support with anything, feel free to catch up with us, and you can email us on the address that I've already given you. So a massive thank you for coming along today. I really appreciate your time. And if you've got any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. If you want to share anything, do the same. I'll remain here for a